Mistake number 10 that we all know and we all do. Losing or ignoring the sense of forcefulness. Again, I remind you, we are talking about the calculation. And when we calculate, there is this theory, you need to calculate the forcing moves first. And it's in this priority. You need to calculate checks first, then captures, then threats or attacking ideas or moves. Why is that? Because when you check your opponent, he has very limiting choices. So it's easier to start calculating that. But when we are playing a game, sometimes we forget this and we play because we have alternatives, yes? We forget this and we go deep in other places or in other moves. Let's see an example to get the idea. Here, white to play. And probably the last move for black was bishop takes c3 or something. And here in the game, white mistakenly played king takes h3. Maybe the last move for black was bishop takes h3. That's why king takes h3 was kind of the automatic reply, which is something wrong. You had, or white had a better idea. And it's a forceful. See? Again, losing or ignoring the sense of forcefulness. Yeah? So here, you should have the sense of forcefulness and play this idea of rook h4. Why bishop h4? Because you're threatening mate in one. The only move to stop that is to play king h6. So if you move the bishop, then the rook will be taken. But now, check first, moving this king away and then rook g3. Again, threatening to move this bishop away and it will be a checkmate. So the only move again, bishop f6, it's kind of long line, but easy because there is no choices. Yeah, it's only one choice. So after bishop f6, just rook takes h3, and now you cannot avoid it. I mean, you can play bishop g7, but if you reach this moment, then your piece is back and you're a pawn up and you're completely winning. Bishop f7, check in this position, and after bishop h6, rook g6, and next move, probably move, rook h6 will be a checkmate. So always look for a forcefulness, especially when your opponent king is not that safe. Yeah, this is actually a trigger you might have or you might use. Yeah, okay, one more example. By the way, guys, 2000 rated, I mean, white player was. Yeah, okay, by the way, he managed to win the game. Again, the sense of forcefulness disappear here. He played the bad move or the mistake move, rook g1. He should have played again rook g6, and when he takes, then rook g3, threatening mate, and after bishop f6, check first, and after king h6, just rook takes f6, check, and then we'll go back and then we'll be mate. But again, he lost that sense of forcefulness. I am sure if it's a puzzle, he will find it in seconds, yeah? But he lost that sense during the game. After rook g1, rook g8, black survived the mate, but he did not survive the game, as this pawn ending actually is losing, thanks to the extra pawn, though accuracy is required. Next example. Here, it's white to play, and white should have played rook b4, attacking the knight, and saving his knight later on. I mean, the next move. But he played knight b5, thought that let's get back with our knight, because on a7 it might be lost anywhere. So after knight b5 check, black is rated 2200, guys. 2200. Who can be stronger than that? But he made that mistake and played king b8. Again, losing the sense of forcefulness. This should be winning. King b6. Why king b6? Because there's no discoveries, no double checks. Your rook is under fire, and if you go in this position, I mean, your knight is under fire as well. And the only idea to try is rook b4. If you take my knight, I'll take your knight. But simply king a5. And now the piece will be taken. Yeah, either you move your rook away or you protect it. Rook takes b5 will be coming, and black is completely winning. Why is that, or why that did not happen? Again, because black lost or ignore the sense of forcefulness, because he didn't want to think more, yeah, or at least add more choices to his or her candidate moves. Yeah, one more example. So the ideas will be clearer and clearer, and how important is that, guys? Because they said, I mean, ideally I learn about chess. Like I see courses about opening, middle game, endings, whatever. All of the grandmasters, all of the 2600, 2500, etc. says that everything about chess is calculation. 80% of chess is calculation, regardless how good you are in the opening, in the theory, in the middle game, planning, etc. Pawn structure, doesn't matter. What matters is calculation. Matters the most. 80% of chess, yeah? So this section is super important. By the way, if you reach this far with the video, then consider subscribe and consider to rewatch the whole series, because we have talked about the first 9 mistakes. So you have better chances not to fall a victim to that. And if you are interested in learning openings, we talked about openings as well. So you can check out the channel. So here in this position, again, white is 1800 player, and he played the automatic move h takes g3. And he lost in 5 moves after h takes g3. Though he is winning, but he should have thought about the forceful moves, knight g6 check. Why knight g6? Just to block the g file. And after h takes g6, h takes g3, and now white is completely winning. 2 pawns up or 3 pawns up, whatever, you count. And then king g2, and this king is completely safe and nothing. I mean, bishop b4, rook d2, d5, d6, d7, whatever, yeah? But in the game, because his opponent maybe last move was bishop takes g3, he played h takes g3. He didn't want to calculate. And then black uses the forceful moves, queen e1. But it's now easier for black to find, because it's the only idea. He doesn't have alternatives, yes? The rook is under fire, so king g2 is the only move. But now the brilliant move, bishop f1. And after bishop f1, if rook takes f1, then there is this check. Thanks to the rook. That's why knight here was important. And now after, say, king h1, queen h3, checkmate. So you cannot do that. And after bishop f1 check, f king g1, then bishop h3 check, and after king h2, this is actually how the game ended. King takes h3, queen takes g3, and black just won the game, thanks to the ignoring or losing the sense of forcefulness moves, yeah? Okay, let's go for the next example. Here it's black to play, and again black played the automatic move queen takes h2. Most likely white played knight takes h2 in this position, so as you take my piece, I will take your piece. But actually you need to calculate forcing moves first. Forcing moves first, rook takes f4 check was winning. After knight f3, for example, what else? Because f king e2, there is rook f2 probably, and you lose your queen at least. So after rook takes f4, knight f3 is the only move. Again, forcing moves, check, only move. Check, only move. And now in this position, the simplest way is check and just take on h7, and probably your 2 or 1 pawn up with bishop bear. So white is at least better. Black is at least better, yeah? But what happened in the game was queen takes h2. And now white uses the forcefulness or the forceful moves, and he played bishop takes g7. And now in this position, king takes h7 was the best move. Though I did not play king g7, what played? And now rook d7, check. Rook f7, rook takes f7, king takes f7, and now it's kind of easy, like check, check, check everywhere. Check, 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 and the 1500 won against 1800 in this position, thanks to black being ignoring or losing the sense of forcefulness. Last example. I mean, in this subject you can find maybe 1 million example. I'm not sure. I mean too much examples, because it's a frequent error, yeah, a frequent mistake. Here black played the bad move queen g1. Again, he did not calculate the forcing moves. Sometimes rook e2 should be calculated, actually, though it's taken, by the way, but just seconds. 5 seconds. Give it 5 seconds. So in this position, actually, rook d1 was winning. As if you take, you will be mated easily in 2 or 3. Queen e1 checkmate. And the other idea is king c3. But again, after king c3, you will be mated. After b4 check, king c4 and queen d5, again checkmate. Forcing line, forcing mate is much easier to calculate. The easiest thing to calculate is the forcing line. So that's why sometimes, actually I have seen kind of interview with Anand or one of the world champions, and he said, okay, I have no problem calculating 20 moves, but if it's forced, if it's not forced, maybe I will calculate 2-3 moves maximum, because I cannot calculate even more if there is alternatives for my opponent. Yeah, I cannot expect what he's going to play. But if it's forcing, it's very easy. You just visualize better and focus better, and you find the solutions. Yeah, because it's forcing. I'll do this, he has to do that. I'll do this, he has to do that. This is actually our 10th mistake that must be known. I hope you get the idea, and I hope you are now a better player and not doing this, or at least will help you decrease, because I'm sure no matter what you do, you will do these mistakes, but the point is to do it less, or to do it less than your opponent, you know? So I hope this helps, and see you in another one. Don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, etc.